And the family gets all upset and reportedly had firearms in their vehicles. So they call in the Air Force and the drone and Homeland Security, and it tracks the evil family who are anti-government, and the SWAT team raids them. Again, all sorts of crime, all sorts of corruption. The Houston Chronicle reported, what was it, 4 years ago, that 250,000 illegal aliens were released in Texas in 1 year out of the jails, many of which were aggravated felons that listed it arson, rape, armed robbery, all of it, and they were released. They were released. Oh, but don't worry, the North Dakota family, and if you put the article up on screen, you can scroll down, we can see these evil people who, by the way, didn't have any criminal record. These evil people who said, look, there are cows. They keep busting through the fence and coming over here. They have a 3,000-acre farm, and the cows keep eating their farm vegetables, and that's where under law you can take them. Quite frankly, my grandfather had some bulls that would jump fences, and the neighbor, after a couple times, went ahead and took them. And my grandfather never even went and asked for him. He knew. He said, the neighbor doesn't offer to give him back, and I understand I need to fix that fence. But nowadays, well, you just call in the Predator drone. How many millions of dollars does that cost? Again, because they've passed in the Senate. Now they're trying to pass it tomorrow in the House, in the conference, before it goes to Lord Obama's desk, the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And when we come back, I'm going to get into that. 40 members of House protest indefinite detention bill, and we reportedly have until tomorrow, because the House already passed one version, the Senate did. Now it's in conference. They're looking at both pieces of it and trying to integrate it, and then it'll go to the president. We need to say no to this. And by the way, now you've got the senators who've been involved in it. Graham, McCain, and others coming out and saying, yes, it affects citizens, and Obama, here's the memo, asked it be added that it be for U.S. citizens. You see? While the ACLU tells you Obama's against it.
Smokers.
By the way, again, most of the family living on this farm there in North Dakota didn't have a criminal record. The dad gets arrested for, the checkpoints for not having his papers in order, and they had arrested him for not reporting the stray cattle that came onto your property. And I've looked up the North Dakota law. It's the same all over the country. He didn't have to give the cattle back. They came on his property, on his farm. Anybody who's been involved in farming and ranching knows this. So they show up without warrants, demand their way onto the property, and that's when the family said, no, you don't have a warrant, get out of here. So they summoned the $154 million MQ-9 Predator B drone from nearby Grand Forks Air Force Base. And it's got the cops, and they're going, we got great intelligence from the military. Intelligence on us, I know. Your dinner, your slaves, I understand. Don't worry, though. The whole country's going to collapse, just like you parasites want. Okay? It's all going to fall apart. Your whole family's future, you're going to be judged by your own evil. And it's going to be like a third world country. There'll be nothing for you to suck off of anymore, no matter how rich this country was. And the articles are all, they lived on the 3,000-acre family farm the police call a compound because they had different houses on it. Oh, my gosh, the father and his wife and the three sons and some of their wives live there farming. And of course, we had an ADL report yesterday. We covered on the nightly news, and Paul Watson wrote about it at Infowars.com. A secret meeting with citizens in the sheriff's department about small government terrorists. And the manual says if people are talking about small government, report them. They're terrorists. They're these people that believe in freedom and private property and guns. They've got tractors. They know how to grow things. They've got guns. Homeland Security, ADL. Save me. In fact, I covered that on the nightly news. Will you guys reprint me that article? Headline, Secret Sheriff's Meeting for Small Government Terrorists. And it's got the manual right there on the article. There's these people, they want small government. The ADL's like, oh, law enforcement, the citizens are there at the secret meeting. Sheriff, how do we deal with these people? They're talking to neighbors. They say they have a right to freedom. Get them! Get them! Oh, ADL, Foreign Intelligence Operation of Israel. What do we do about these evil Americans? I mean, that's what this country has become. And you read this article, meet the Brosserts, a North Dakota family deemed so dangerous the local sheriff needed to unleash an unmanned predator drone to help bring them in. The Brosserts alleged crime they wouldn't give back 3 cows and their calves that wandered onto their 3,000-acre farm this summer. The same aerial vehicles used by the CIA to track down and assassinate terrorists and militants in Pakistan and Afghanistan are now being deployed by cops to spy on Americans in their own backyards. But don't videotape a cop in public. They'll have a kept jury put your butt in prison for life, or they'll sure try. Prison for life. And they'll sit there with a straight face and tell the judge, I want them to go to prison. The judge is like, you bet we want them to. What do you think, in America you're going to videotape us in the city street? You don't do nothing but pay our salary, slave. Continuing here with the article, it goes on. The Brosserts are the first known suspects of the high-flying new surveillance technology that the federal government has made available to some local sheriffs and police chiefs, all without congressional approval or search warrants. We don't need no stinking congressional approval to launch wars or shut down coal-powered plants or have UN oversee elections or do whatever we want, or kill U.S. citizens. That's what Obama said. I don't need to sign your bill. But if you're going to pass it, you better add American citizens in there. The Republicans are like, you bet we hate them as much as you do. He's like, good job. Keep conning them. Keep acting like we're fighting with each other. Try to get that Ringer Gingrich in there. How's that sound? They're like, you bet we'll get that job done. I'm going to play like I'm against it, though. They're like, that's a good way to fool the slaves. Ha, 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 yeah. I mean, they just know exactly what they're doing. And you've got all your excuses of why you do all this and why you need all the surveillance and violate our rights, how it's all for the good of America. Everybody knows in their gut it's pure baloney. Okay? Everybody knows, and it's going to get 10 times worse. Local authorities, not servants, authorities say that the family are known for being armed. Oh, my God, farmers that are armed. Anti-government separatist whose sprawling farm. Oh, that's really evil. Remember what the entire Homeland Security behind the closed doors training is. We've got the manuals. It's all about country boys that can survive. If you can skin a buck and run a trot line, the Pentagon. I've been to the drills. I've made films. And let me tell you, they're training to take on farmers and ranchers and people wearing John Deere hats in the drills. And they practice when they capture you, putting you on the ground and blowing your head off. I got it on video, Police State 2000. You wearing a John Deere hat, you like the Second Amendment, you like George Washington, the New World Order is training the military and police that you're a demon. You think I'm joking? This isn't satire. I got footage of cops pulling people over. They've got a citizen rule book, and they start heavy breathing and have to rest on the car in fear, going, I can't believe we found one, boss. I can't believe we found.
We're on the mark.
All right, Max Keiser is going to be with us about 15, 20 minutes in the next hour. He's going to join us here in about 5 minutes, and then go right through in the next hour. And we're going to open the phones up next hour for Max, and then continuing into the third hour when a former East German colonel, Army colonel, who's a part of Oathkeepers, is going to be here to join us in studio. He lives here in Texas now to break down the horrors of collectivism and the police state. They hired Marcus Wolf 8 years ago to help set up what is Homeland Security today. He's since died. He was the former head of the Stasi. And when I first saw that in the news, I didn't believe it, and I actually went to the congressional Homeland Security funding numbers, and he was paid over $1 million a year for at least 3 years consecutively after that to help set up everything. That's why you're like, wow, it's just like the Stasi, you know, the biggest police state ever known in East Germany. It was kind of like the Nazis merged with communism. Talk about a nightmare situation. And that's because that's what it is. Now, if you heard me ranting there, it's because I'm in a lot of pain. I mean, it's all coming true. I know where this goes next. I've got chills now every 5 seconds, not every, 2 weeks or something. I'm having bad chills right now. Chills of my body saying, danger, Will Robinson, danger. And I know how they slowly have trained the police and military to accept all this. And now they're rolling out the use of Northcom against the people right as they get ready to start imploding the world economy. You think things are bad so far. This is just the preparatory phase. We'll put on screen for Prisonplanet.tv viewers an article that went up yesterday evening That's a problem with Infowars.com, is we write so much and do so much research that there's updates at 6 a.m., 10 a.m. or so, noon, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And Watson tends to be working at midnight over in England, which is 6 o'clock here, Central. And that's when that article went up, was later in the afternoon, his time. Our time, nighttime, his time. It didn't get much attention. It's big. Sheriff's Department sponsors secret meeting on small government terrorist. We've got the ADL training manual there with the mayors and the local constabulary to literally make them feel like they're part of the authority system. And they sit there with straight face and badmouth people that talk about cutting government in any way are what they call terrorist. And we can click on it and actually show you the manual there that the ADL gives them. And I see this in our local news. The ADL is advising police and schools. And then you find out they're training the school kids to spy on their parents and stuff. I mean, it's so over the top that this is going on. Investigative researcher and director of special projects, ADL. Location, Carmelo, California. The sovereign citizen movement is a loosely organized collection of groups and individuals who have adopted a right-wing anarchist ideology. You mean they're not slaves? You mean they're like the founders? Its adherents believe that virtually all existing government in the United States is illegitimate, and they seek to restore an idealized minimalist government that never actually existed. Oh, really? Sovereign citizens wage war against the government and other forms of authority. Yeah, InfoWar, using paper terrorism, I mean, pro se, winning all. Oh, let's stop right there. You know, and we're about to go to Max Keiser. I remember 16 years ago, pro se people, lawyers who'd woken up and others coming to me and saying, there aren't real mortgages. It's illegal. They put them in an electronic filing system. This mirror system is illegal. They're selling them in derivatives. And I had to go research it because it sounded so crazy. And George Humphrey, an economist, former city council guy, he told me about it. But I remember ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center stuff just 3 years ago saying there are crazy people that claim the mortgages have been sold over and over again and that they're taking houses that they don't have mortgages to. That is paper terrorism. And I remember seeing articles where, in one case, it was Wisconsin. I forget because I had the guy's wife on. He's since gone to jail and been real sick in there. But the point is, I forget his name. We need to pull it up. He was in a wheelchair. And they took his house that was paid for through this fraud, and when he sued them over it, they arrested him, charged him with some paper terrorism thing, because the judges and everybody are so evil. And he went to jail, I think it was for 14 years. But anyways, I just had another remembrance here of just how evil it is. And they sit there, but see, now it doesn't work. But do the cops remember? I know there's cops all over the country listening. Do you remember just 3 or 4 years ago and before that being taught these dangerous crazies claim the mortgages are a fraud and they don't owe them? You know, that's how they lie to you. They say that you don't owe anything on your mortgage. Aren't they crazy? And the cops, I've got training videos of it, all go, you know, we've aired them here. They are nuts. The banks wouldn't take houses they didn't have the deed to. That's crazy. Now it's all over thousands of newspapers admitted. We knew what we were talking about again. Now, are there people out there who try to investigate the law themselves and don't know what they're filing or how they're filing it, or kooky groups that, you know, file bonds and demand $10 million from the government? Yeah, there's some of that. But the vast majority of it is real and legitimate. And it's people, even in their own manuals, they say that are losing everything and who are desperate. I mean, what are you supposed to do? They're coming to take your little house, your little farm, because you can't pay the property taxes? They're just going to give it to some big bank that you've already bailed out with your tax money and it happens? All right, we're going to Max Keiser. The point is that it's all happening. It's all coming down. And as they squeeze and squeeze and squeeze, and as 11% of Texas has arrest warrants out for them, and as the government can engage in any crime they want. I mean, look at that quote right there. Look at that quote right there, where they said they believe the government's illegitimate. Well, the founders did the Declaration of Independence. Everything that the British government was doing is exactly what our government is doing, but more. Our government is shipping guns into Mexico and drugs back into the country, and it's in all the federal filings and was filing in the New York Times 2 Sundays ago. Our government's caught perjuring itself. Our government's been caught running white slavery, sex slavery worldwide. Mainstream news. I mean, the British were doing all sorts of corrupt stuff and insider deals and taxes and things, but they weren't giving 10,000 guns to the Indians